THQ Nordic's wholly owned subsidiary called millio has agreed to purchase Kingdom Come: Deliverance developer Warhorse Studios for $37.5 million. The cash deal will see THQ acquire 100% of the shares in Warhorse through Koch, along with all of the intellectual property rights to Kingdom Come. Warhorse was founded back in 2011 by industry veterans Deliverance and Martin Klima, who raised over $1.5 million through Kickstarter to partially finance the development of Kingdom Come. Koch then joined the project as the game's publisher back in 2016, and since launching in February 2018, the medieval RPG has sold over 2 million copies worldwide. Warhorse Studios is one of the leading independent studios in Europe, and I am proud to welcome them to the THQ Nordic Group, commented Lars Wimbyfoss, CEO of THQ Nordic. I look forward to continue working with the founders, who will continue managing the studio under strong creative freedom for many years to come. Westworld Mobile has shut down just 2 weeks after developer Behavior Interactive and publisher Warner Bros. Settled a lawsuit brought against it by Bethesda. Bethesda initially accused both companies of copyright infringement and misappropriation of trade secrets back in June, after noticing more than a few similarities between Westworld Mobile and Fallout Shelter. The Fallout developer subsequently took legal action and said that Westworld Mobile creators had outright copied the same or highly similar game design, art style, animations, features, and other gameplay elements as Fallout Shelter. Although Warner Bros. And Behavior said the accusations against them were completely baseless, they eventually settled the lawsuit after reaching an unknown agreement with Bethesda. Now, around 2 weeks after that agreement was brokered, Warner Bros. Has put the title from sale and switched the lights off for good. We are sorry to see the Westworld mobile game go, and had an incredible time creating the content and events for players to enjoy, reads a message posted on Twitter. We deeply appreciate our community's enthusiasm and participation in the game. Pic. Twitter.com Y7NS7 Castle Code. Over the weekend, Valve published a blog detailing the top controller-friendly games on Steam for 2018, and the analysis includes data to help players find games they might enjoy most with the kind of controller they own. This guide could be useful for developers interested in seeing what genre of game was most compatible for different controllers, including the PlayStation, X, Nintendo Switch Pro, and Steam controllers. For every controller, each guide is broken down into 3 sections: most popular, most unique, and local multiplayer. Each section starts off by highlighting the 50 games most popular with that controller, with Valve looking at the number of minutes played in each game with each type of controller. After doing some more math, Valve generated a list of generally popular games that also have good controller support for each kind of controller. Interestingly enough, many of the most popular games show up as played a lot with all controller types. The most unique games by controller provide some pretty interesting info in regards to what types of games players gravitated to the most. For example, PlayStation controllers were the choice for fighting games, with Soul Calibur 6, BlazBlue, Cross Tag Battle and Street Fighter V making the list. X controller owners seem to prefer open-world games, with titles like Just Cause 3, Saints Row 4, Skyrim and Mafia 3 among the list of games that are most unique to the device. As explained in the blog, Valve speculates that the preferences point to both a difference in demographics between owners of the respective controllers, and the differing level of support for specific controllers between games. Interested developers can check out the lists here. My oldest assistant used to work at a newspaper. Her editor said, "The good news articles start with a sentence, a tour, so unique to the story you could never use it on another one." This perfectly encapsulates the way I think about game trailers. Excluding literal game clones, every game has something unique about it. It's the job of the trailer maker to find that thing. Video games have a long history of being thought of as products like a car, a smartphone. A lot of people focus on features like cooperative play, unlockable items, physics simulations, and high-resolution textures, etc. This way of looking at games as products can filter down through press coverage, heated online arguments, and advertising. I think this mentality for games is why there are so many game trailers which boil down to a video checklist of features, intercut with the game footage. Many of these trailers end up highlighting the ways a game is similar to others rather than different. From something awful's video game style review of World War Z, it's perfectly understandable for new games to incorporate popular game design features. But I do like to think most people take popular ideas and put a unique spin on them. That unique spin is what a trailer needs to start with. And if there's time, it can cite some bullet points which might interest some people. When I see a feature list in a trailer, it's a lot like the experience of going through profiles on dating apps. There are functionally an infinite number of people on dating apps, but surprisingly few profiles stand out in any appreciable way. For example, where I am in Los Angeles, it does not take long to find a person of any gender who in their profile says something to the effect of, "I am here in Long enjoying living my life to the fullest. I am a fun-loving person who loves to laugh and is fluent in sarcasm. I enjoy hiking, traveling, cooking, going out to eat, seeing shows, and dancing. But I also like to stay at home and watch Netflix. My favorite movie is The Shawshank Redemption." This is my attempt at a gender-neutral profile. But if it were for a man, the favorite movie would be the Fight Club or Pulp Fiction. It's a thing. Their photos would also include car selfies, Machu Picchu, Snapchat filters, and a sedated tiger. Posing with the tiger also says you are an asshole who does not care about what the tiger had to go through for your photo op. These common qualities quickly become meaningless and make the person seem uninteresting despite the fact there must be something which makes them unique from everyone else. There are a few key things which make a profile stand out. Uniqueness is of course by definition something which stands out from the crowd. I have already cited a number of ways people make themselves look similar to others. But another mainstay of dating profiles are men who take shirtless selfies. Those will not make a guy stand out from the crowd. But a person in 2019 whose I saw of 1930s musicals will draw attention because it's not something you are likely to find in dozens or hundreds of profiles. There are a countless number of games where you shoot and kill other people or things. These unique games poke through the noise. For example, Papers. PLASCWHERE you play a border-crossing immigration officer, looking at documents and stamping passports. Or Florence, which is a game about a relationship between a woman and a man where the game interactions are metaphors for their trials and tribulations. Papers. Please trailer could they cited its branching narrative, multiple endings, and the number of characters. But it did not. Specificity means digging deeper into an idea. For example, cooking It's a very broad interest. For all I know, this person's definition of cooking is microwaving a frozen dinner. A specific example could be cooking pod stickers. This says the person is very likely of Asian descent and enjoys making food from scratch. For games, a broad gameplay descriptor is platformer. A more specific example could be platformer, where you cannot jump, which is one of the ideas behind Nintendo's excellent Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Shameless plug. If you want a recipe, buy my mod's cookbook. Unique combinations can also draw attention. There are some things which are unsurprising to see together, like a person who lists me neighborty OTOROANDP no keys their favorite movies. But what if someone said their favorite movies are My Neighborty OTOROAND A History of Violence, a first-person shooter, where you are in the military? It's a very cliché combination. But a first-person shooter where time only moves when your movie is unique.